Hello and welcome to another MovieBoozer.com virtual pubcast. I'm your host, Ken Eggman, and joining me today is Hawk Ripjaw,
Hello.
Bill Arsenault,
Hey,
and we've got interesting topic this week. There are plenty of new movies to discuss, but we're going to skip that for now because there's really nothing coming out this weekend. So it'll give you guys who haven't had a chance to see as many movies another week chance to get out to the theaters. And
a very weak chance.
yes, a very weak chance. And actually, really, we could extend this by 2 weeks because there's nothing coming out the weekend after that, really, of any consequence.
And then he got, fuck you, it's January.
Yeah, well,
I struggled with the email for divvying up the January releases this year.
Well, isn't Glass coming out in January?
Glass is coming out. There is an untitled STX action movie, which I put high on my list because XTX has been churning out the shit like an alcoholic, diarrhea-ridden.
Oh,
like it's become a brand of, like, when you see a movie trailer and you see STX debating, you're like, oh boy, here we go, because they did they released AXL. They're releasing that Ugly Dolls movie. They did a few others too, but like basically STX has been synonymous with shitty things extreme.
Well,
that's the acronym.
Didn't STX do that Matthew McConaughey movie where it was like Free Jones, right? Free State of Jones.
Free State of Jones. They might have.
The first half was okay. Actually, pretty good.
Was good for a while, and then they just kind of. I believe that they started going under, so they started gambling on projects and picking up things that nobody else wanted. Kind of like they kind of did the desperate version of Entertainment Studios Motion Pictures,
who also has a movie coming out this coming January.
Which is the Arctic Dogs, right?
Yeah.
Replicas.
What?
Replicas.
Yes,
Replicas. I think they're also doing.
the Keanu Reeves movie.
Yeah, no, where Thomas Middleditch says, "What if something horrible goes wrong?" in the trailer.
What?
Yeah, he says that, and somebody on Reddit has already seen the movie, and they said that it is by far the worst movie they have seen so far this year. It being 2018, they saw it early. And they said, out of everything so far in 2018, this was the worst.
The weekend of the 11th is going to be wonderful. You have The Upside, which is STX Entertainment's attempt to remake the Intouchables.
Not the Untouchables, the
Intouchables.
The heartwarming story of a paraplegic and his caretaker.
Right. Which, that movie's good, but we'll see how this goes. Then you have Entertainment Studios Replicas, and then you have Sony A Dog's Way Home.
Oh God, I saw that trailer before Into the Spider-Verse, and it gave me cancer.
So tell me, I've seen that trailer like 5 times now because it plays at every movie I've been to. Is it not the case that entire movie's plot is summarized from beginning to end? And
oh yeah, no, by the fucking dog.
It ends with the dog running across the street. I told Ken that the movie's going to end with the dog running across the street towards his owner, and then gets hit by a car and dies, and then it'll be revealed that this movie is a prequel to A Dog's Purpose.
Oh, there you go. Okay,
the Dog's Purpose being the one where the dog gets reincarnated multiple times.
Yes.
Multiple times because it doesn't work each time, so he has to do it again.
The dog has to keep dying. He's like, God damn it, I just want to go to heaven.
Can't a dog get a bone? Yeah, right. What about MoviePass films? MoviePass has gotten into the film distribution and production marketplace, and Bruce Willis signed a contract with them for like 5 films or something.
Oh God.
Yeah.
And someone on Twitter posted an image of the Titanic going down. Like, there's no problem, nothing to see here.
Yeah, whoever is underwriting MoviePass must just have a fuckload of money and just no sense whatsoever.
I'm really not allowed.
MoviePass was purchased by I think it was an investment firm called Helis and Matheson, and they had cash to burn, and they were expecting to burn some in order to gain a whole bunch. It just didn't work out that way. But their overhead was such that they could afford to finance some movies for a while, but they only made bullshit, except for American Animals is one of the best movies of the year, and that was a MoviePass venture, as they're called.
Yeah, so was the the movie Border, which came out from Neon.
And so is that classic Gotti.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's important to note too
the
that
big
like
one, yeah.
the movie, The American Animals, was not, as I understand, a Movie Pass produced film. They just agreed to distribute it, and I think they did the same with Gotti. But there's like a whole bunch of Movie Pass stuff that I want to go into a little bit later. But remind me to talk about some controversy around Gotti when we get to that point.
Okay.
And we certainly will. Now, the main topic of tonight is just sort of an overview of 2018 in film. And what I'd like to do is just go over a few things. We have, for instance, we're going to be going over the top 10 films of the year in terms of box office and how that reflects on the current state of film. And then we'll also go over some personal favorites that we had over the course of the year. But what I'd like to lead off with is just for a little bit of more of a general conversation is I'm going to go to you guys and just kind of ask, so Bill, when you think of last year, what do you think, or rather this year's, what do you think typifies 2018? What when you think of 2018 in film, how do you think it's going to be remembered?
Like personified through one particular film or genre, or
I would say it could be anything. Trends, genres.
One trend would be
style.
wasn't this year or was it last year where we got that trailer thing where if you go to YouTube and watch a trailer, you get like a 5-second primer for the trailer and then the trailer itself.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Well, it's interesting. It's an interesting marketing tactic because
it is interesting, but
because when you watch a YouTube video, you have an ad beforehand, and it plays for 5 seconds, and then you can click the skip ad button. So they're doing this because that 5-second primer will be okay. What's this movie? And so you'll watch the ad through completion and be interested to watch the movie.
Yeah,
I mean, that shouldn't be the case for actual trailers that you watch on YouTube, but I'm not sure why they're not differentiating that, but that's why they do that.
I can understand if it's on like Snapchat or something, which I don't even use, but I mean like something that's more driven to teens or young adults who are like, skip past this shit. I want to see the real action, Meanwhile, the rest of us have patience.
Or ad block.
Well, no, it's just for people that don't want to skip the ad. Or people that do want to skip the ad.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I guess
I should say patience, ad block, or YouTube Red, because that's what I have.
Yeah, I have. Well, it's YouTube Premium now.
It's red. It'll always be red.
I keep forgetting to
I prefer calling it red.
Invitation to YouTube Premium, Bill.
Oh yeah, that's right. I sent it to you because I had a bunch of free ones when I got the family plan, and I was like, Can
I even do that anymore since Google Plus got shut down?
Yeah, you can still do that.
Okay, I'll have to figure out where you sent me that link. And
I can send it to you again, probably.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that.
I'll shoot it over to you. But okay, so
back to my question, Bill.
Yeah, for me, what personifies 2018? I guess it would have to be the streaming giants, Netflix. Getting in on finally really breaking through the mold with award-winning and really good high-end quality film. For starters, they basically completed Orson Welles' final film, The Other Side of the Wind, which was a project I've been following since before Netflix got on board, since when Showtime was originally a part of it. And I've been searching for news all the time about it. Wellsnet.com, which is the blog about Orson Welles that's dedicated to Welles news, which is you'd think it wouldn't be like as interesting a topic, I guess, or as immediate a topic, but you never know. Sometimes things happen. Like new discoveries come out. The latest footage from his Don Quixote production comes out. That kind of shit. So when the news finally broke, I was like, holy crap, we're gonna get. First it was on Indiegogo. They were gonna do this funding thing. It didn't really work out, but Netflix came in, took control. We're going to get the best people behind it, and they did. What came out was a great film. And on top of that, too, they in my current top 10, in the top 5, there are 2 films that are Netflix films, and in the top 10, there's like 4 or 5 that are streaming. Well, actually, no, there's 6. I'm sorry. There's 6 that are basically streaming movies. You know, like whether it was Amazon, Netflix, or Vimeo, these are movies that were made mostly available after the festival release through a streaming service. And, you know, I think that speaks very highly for all the publishers out there and the content creators out there that are trying to get their films seen, because now streaming services are getting in on the game. You know, now, of course, Netflix, they don't normally show their films as much in the theater, except for the case of Roma. Roma, they did somewhat of a push out. They've even done some 70 millimeter screenings, which I think are still happening. And they've been pushing Roma hard too, which makes sense because that's what's going to get them an Oscar if they keep pushing at it. You know, if they keep hitting that button, they may just get a Best Foreign Language Film, or maybe even Best Picture for all we know. Possibly that might be a little bit of a stretch, but Shirkers came out, great documentary. It's been making the top lists of many critics. You know, Amazon has had some great releases. You know, and it got kind of funny a couple years ago when Crackle released Joe Dirt 2. Like that was the bottom of the fucking barrel right there. As much as I kind of like seeing Joe Dirt 1 in the theater and thinking, okay, it's a stupid movie, but you know, whatever.
Yeah, I'll defend Joe Dirt 1.
I was not excited for Joe Dirt 2, except with mild, like, how bad is this going to be?
Well, I mean, like, the only reason Joe Dirt 2 was on Crackle is because the only way you can get somebody to watch Joe Dirt 2 is to give it to them for free.
with limited ads or something.
Yeah, somebody's like, well, I guess
I'll give it to it for free. Yeah, put it on Sony Crackle, whatever.
Yeah, that's certainly the only reason I watched it.
Yeah, I eagerly tuned in just to see how bad it was, and also because I knew it's shot on the North Shore of Lake Pontchartrain here in Louisiana. So I was like, what can I spot, you know?
Yeah.
And I became so bored and disgusted and infuriated by the story and by the pacing and just everything. But what I'm getting at is that was like the lowest point for streaming services to create and release movies. It was kind of like, all right, they're not really that serious about it. They're just going to release like Christmas crap, you know?
And the thing that's interesting is, just like with studio films, not everything that's been released streaming has worked.
Sure. Sure. Sometimes it's not as bold. Sometimes it's not as quality-wise. It's not up there. Sometimes they take a chance and it just doesn't work out.
And that's the key is they are giving these directors chances to take. Life Itself, for instance,
as an Amazon Studios film, right?
Yeah, not
I think the best part about that being an Amazon Studios film is that I can relive the bullshit forever on Amazon Prime.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's kind of like with Woody Allen's Wonder Wheel, the movie that came out just when the newest scandal was breaking about him, and everyone was like, you know what, fuck this guy, we're done.
And also, this movie sucks.
And also, his movie probably sucks. Yeah.
No, like I think it got bad reviews, right? They're like, it's not.
Yeah, I think that's something, but I think that was mostly because of the scandal. I have never seen Wonder Wheel, so I can't say. But I do know that when I got the DVD screener for it, it did not list him as director. It just didn't even promote that idea. It just promoted everyone else. Kate Winslet, you know, Justin Timberlake, that kind of stuff.
Wonder Wheel has a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's probably not a good movie, but
did they try to cover it up by like rename it a Weirdy Ellen?
No. That's Ellen DeGeneres' alias, huh?
Weirdy Ellen.
Weirdy Ellen, yeah. But no,
Woodrow Allensbeth film.
From how the year started with the Cloverfield Paradox, which was an incredible release strategy, which was we're not going to give you any details until the day we release it.
A great release strategy for a really not so great film.
We didn't even know they were going to release it that night until they released the big Super Bowl trailer for it. And they were like, streaming tonight. And everyone was like, what the fuck?
Oh, Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah, and then we watched it, and it's like, okay, it's okay, it's getting all right, and then it's bullshit.
Yeah, that was like so. There was actually this was a weird movie because the public has caught on to the Bad Robot marketing campaign when it comes to Cloverfield films. Like the first Cloverfield was an amazing exercise in marketing. They had fake websites. They had these different things. Like if you found such and such a thing in this poster and go to this website and click on this link and then email this link that the website gives you, and you can find this and 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, I remember that was half of the fun.
Yeah, it's half the fun. People discussing it, and people were like, "Oh, I think I see a shape of the monster in the clouds up there," and that wasn't the case. But it just Bad Robot would just feed into that by giving you this drip feed of marketing information, and it was really fun. And Cloverfield Paradox didn't really have so much of that. You know, there was a movie coming out called the God Particle, and it took about 2 months for people to say that's probably the next Cloverfield movie because we've heard nothing about it, and it comes out in 3 months. Yeah. And then it got pulled from Paramount's schedule and disappeared, and then it got renamed to the Cloverfield Paradox, as people suspected, and still no marketing. And then it was like, oh, it's going to be Netflix has acquired it. And that's when people started to get suspicious that it was not going to be very good. And then people started to guess, oh, they're probably going to release a trailer and it's going to be available right away. And that ended up being the case for the Super Bowl and ended up being a shitty movie. And kind of that was where kind of the breaking point was, at least for me, where Bad Robot and J.J. Abrams need to decide if they are going to make a Cloverfield series or a dubious marketing campaign anthology series. Like if Bad Robot just acquired science fiction movies and then really pumped up the weird marketing to make people excited for it,
and then filmed like 2 scenes to make it a Cloverfield movie.
Well, no, I'm saying I'm saying what they should do is acquire small sci-fi movies and just put them out with weird marketing that people are excited for, and just do that. But with Cloverfield Paradox, they tried to have their cake and eat it too, by shoehorning these Cloverfield references into the movie, which some of the references are kind of good in how subtle they are, because the reporter lady in Cloverfield Paradox, somebody pointed out on Reddit that I'm trying to remember the exact verbiage, but the timestamp of the event, the particle thing going off in the Cloverfield Paradox, is the exact same timestamp of the explosion in the original Cloverfield, which is kind of clever. But the ending of that movie was just awful. So basically, they need to figure out if they want to make a Cloverfield series or an anthology of dubious marketing campaign science fiction films, because trying to do both is not working at all.
They could also, just look to make good movies.
They could do that, but I mean, it does help to get these movies out there, because it was 10 Cloverfield Lane was originally called
Lane
Valkyrie. No, it wasn't Valkyrie. some of the V, I think. But that movie might not have been released or made or anything if it had not been acquired, and that was a really good movie.
That's like 10 Cloverfield Lame, am I right?
No, I like 10 Cloverfield Lane.
I enjoyed it.
I know you're just making, but
I had an opportunity for a pun.
Some people had a problem with the I guess the climax.
Yes.
The finale of the film.
Absolutely.
I didn't so much at first, and I still kind of don't, but I can see why people have that issue.
It was jarring at first for me, but then after I watched it a second time, I was like, okay, I'm okay with this. It's fine.
Throw the Molotov cocktail into the giant floating space anus.
I mean, what would you do if you were getting picked up by a space anus and had a bottle of alcohol and a rag and a match?
It's just it's the whole design of it, and it's just bullshit.
It's the flying space anus.
There are a million ways that movie could have ended better, and one of them was the actual screenplay's ending.
Yeah. Well,
what do you know what it was?
I think that was when she gets on top of the cars and sees what's happening out there, and she's like, "Oh shit."
And that's the end,
or something. Yeah, I think that's what it is, right?
No, there's more to it, but it's been a while since I've read it. I just remembered thinking it was better.
I'll have to look it up, but
we'll have to look it up. But what I'm getting at is, for considering where we started with Netflix this year, the Cloverfield paradox, this big marketing experiment. We're just going to release it on the Super Bowl. Yay. And then the movie sucks, to Roma. That's how they end the year, with Roma, this big critical darling. They're rolling it out, large format screenings in a couple of different places. They even have a website that tells you how to fix your TV up to meet the specifications for the movie if you want to experience it that way.
That's cool.
They have this whole thing planned out for cinephiles and everything. Like it's pretty interesting from when they went from the big blockbuster, let's just throw it out for the popcorn munchers, to the back end, which is the critics and the cinephiles and the movie lovers.
But if you want the popcorn munching bullshit, you can always watch Mowgli.
Right. That's right.
Oh, that movie was so boring.
I guess that's a different way to bookend the year too, but I'm choosing to go with a positive note.
Sure,
with Roma.
So what you're saying is that streaming, the rise of streaming movie releases.
Yes, it's something that I think is going to have to be recognized more so. As Steven Spielberg came out, like, I don't know if it was this year or last year, but he said something like, that stuff's television. Anything released on streaming is television.
Says the producer of Transformers, fucker.
Right, which is basically a pop-up book.
Which, by the way, he made a television movie. So
yeah, right.
Duel, right?
Yeah. Well, and by the way, I consider Duel one of his canon directed films because it's a wonderful movie.
Okay, so it's not a diss. You made a TV movie, sir, and it was good. So I mean, I'm just saying, considering how some feelings have been towards streaming in the past, now you've got legitimate competition coming from streaming, or streaming's getting into it. They're either producing movies or they're helping to distribute movies.
My only problem with this, because I do love the fact that these movies are getting an opportunity to be seen.
Yeah.
The problem I have is that then it takes away from the ability for me to see this movie in theaters, because for the most part, finding one of these movies in theaters is impossible. Roma, I mean, if you're lucky, it'll be playing in one of the 3 major cities.
Yeah. Well, for you, that'd be Chicago, but again, going out to the city of Chicago has got to be like a real fucking nightmare.
An hour and 45 minutes there, hour 45 minutes back, finding parking and spending like $30 for parking.
Right. I hate going to the end of Canal Street in New Orleans to go to this upscale movie theater on the 4th floor of this mall and spending fucking, like you said, $20-$30 on parking, $15 for a recliner seat. If someone wants wine, you have to pay for that. And then you see the movie.
If someone wants wine,
if you're with a friend. But I'm just saying, like, they have a wine.
For them?
I don't know if they have a wine bar. I'm just saying that it's like an upscale place where kids aren't allowed.
There's a really good theater in Denver called, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's SIE, maybe SI, I don't know. But they're pretty much dedicated to indie films. So a couple weeks ago, they were playing The House That Jack Built, and then that Natalie Portman pop singer movie.
Oh, Vox Lux.
Eon Flux.
Eon Flux, yeah.
Is it Volux?
I don't know how to pronounce this, but all I know is I have.
That's why I said Natalie Portman pop singer, because I wanted you guys to say it out loud and be wrong instead of me.
All I know is the studio gave me a copy of it, and I can't pronounce it for the life of me. I just call it, like you said, the Natalie Portman pop singer movie.
That is one of Will Ashton's favorite movies of the year. So
okay,
definitely let me know what you think of that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be seeing it this weekend. I have a couple of these I have to get through for review. But
in any case, I got it good because they have the theater has free parking behind the building, but it's on Colfax in Denver, which is just a nightmare of traffic all the time. Not even considering rush hour. So I haven't yet braved that area, but I just learned about the theater, so I'm really excited to see what they're going to do, because apparently it's just all about. they're like independently funded, and it's all about independent movies. So that's,
that reminds me of a
really
theater
cool.
that's pretty cool. That reminds me of a theater here in New Orleans called the Broad, which is on Broad Street in Mid City, and it's a great little theater, independent. Sometimes they show a mainstream film just to get people in, but usually it's they show the other films on the other screens, and it's like really obscure or just mainstream independent films, stuff that's circulating and getting good critical buzz. But like you said about the parking, same thing here. The parking there sucks, and there's always construction on that street. So, and it's right by a water pump for the city of New Orleans, which is constantly having issues. There's no one funding the water pumps and no one running the water pumps. So it's like there's always flooding. And this theater has been flooded many times. Like flooded, legitimately, like the seats flooded with water. And,
like worse than the Shape of Water.
Yeah, well, not quite that bad.
Okay.
Not like where the whole bathroom is literally just
draining,
filled with water.
I'm just reminded of
put fucking towels down, and that caused it to turn into a pool.
I'm just reminded of one of my favorite lines from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. They told me it was daft to build a castle in the swamp, so I built it anyway. It sank into the swamp. I built a second one. That sank into the swamp. I built a third one. That burned down, fell over, then sank into the swamp. But the fourth one stayed up.
We got it right that time. Well, I mean, that place had the Broad Theater had bad luck this one particular occasion because there were 2 really bad rainstorms in the span of a month, and both times that whole area got flooded significantly. So they had to close down for a couple of days to vacuum the water out, to dry the place out, that kind of thing. But it was kind of fun because there were some pictures taken of people enjoying drinks at the bar, and their ankles were in the water, and then their knees were in the water, and then their waists were in the water, and then they were like, okay, we got to close the place down now.
Damn.
That's the attitude of New Orleans. It's like, well, the flood, it's just a little bit of water. Okay, the water's getting a little higher, but it's not that bad. Who wants a cocktail? Only if it gets a certain height, then it's like we gotta go out. You gotta get back to the car or something. But yes, I agree with Ken.
I think you guys should just lower the what you guys need to do is dig deeper and just keep going deeper and deeper.
Just keep digging ourselves into a hole.
Yeah, but just build a whole bunch of expensive pumping mechanisms to constantly have to run.
If we don't even have fucking money to afford the pumps we have, what the fuck do you think? What are we gonna do? Get Elon Musk on this situation?
I'm just thinking of ways we can make this situation worse.
Yes. Oh God, we can make it so much worse.
That or you could always do what they're doing in Venice and just
live with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in the case of Venice, they literally have houses that have floats under them, so that as the water rises every year,
they go. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't sink.
Well, it is getting worse here. Now, I don't mean just flooding, but surveillance-wise, they're actually getting the citizens of New Orleans in on the act of attaching and connecting the Wi-Fi that hooks their security cameras, like the door cameras, into the police circulation. So that way the police can use those cameras as surveillance cameras too.
Oh gosh.
So,
hi guys.
Oh, hey Bill, what's up?
Hey Bill.
We're just talking about the dystopia that is America.
Yeah, we're really what we're doing is talking about just an idea of what we think typifies 2018 in film, and what we kind of decided, it sounds like, is the rise of streaming films kind of being like a normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it was an experiment for a few years, but then suddenly, as of this year, it just so many mainstream releases are just dropped, and from respectable directors,
or unknown directors.
Yeah, or unknown, but yeah,
it's just a good place to experiment or get bold and do something different. So that was my 2 cents on what kind of personified for me the year 2018. Hawk, what was your thing for 2018? What do you think?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of, I can't think of one specific thing. I did want to maybe not in film specifically, but I think the Me Too era is a huge thing now in Hollywood, and it's definitely caused people to kind of consider what they're doing, and it's really, I think, changed a lot of the culture of Hollywood with all the Kevin Spacey stuff and Andy Dick and Bryan Singer, and the list goes on and on and on.
TJ Miller.
TJ Miller, just Hollywood is hopefully becoming a little bit less of a toxic place after this. And as you know, the other thing too is diversity in leading roles and females in leading roles. Brie Larson is really is helping lead the charge in terms of leading role females, and of course Black Panther, which made $1 billion, and it's getting campaigned for Best Picture, which it will not win probably. No, because it's a Marvel movie.
It's got a hell of a production design. So I mean, maybe
it looks good. It's a great movie, and I think it's great that you really get in a total blockbuster film that made $1 billion. You have an almost entirely African American cast, which I think is great. Crazy Rich Asians.
I was just going to bring that up. Yeah.
But
I got to see that. I think that's good.
What's funny though is that Crazy Rich Asians bombed in China. Which
it's about Asian Americans, right?
Yeah.
Somewhat, yeah. Some are.
Well, and also it's worth noting the movie, the movie isn't really marketed for Chinese audiences. It's really meant more for
Americans that want to see that other culture, because I'm sure China gets a shitload, maybe not a shitload, but they probably get a dozen or so of this genre of movie every single year. So this is another one of them.
It's also worth noting that Crazy Rich Asians is it's about the wealthy Chinese who no longer live in China. In other words, the Singapore people. And one thing that, even though China's capitalistic as hell, one thing that they don't go out for is overt demonstrations of extravagant wealth.
Yeah.
If you're going to be extravagantly wealthy in China, you have to be politically connected, and that's just it.
Can you imagine going to China and you got gold flake necklace, and it's I'm rocking it. I'm just imagining some asshole from New Jersey, with a gold flake necklace, yeah, but you get yourself some gold flake. It's a good investment and it looks good. I'm thinking of Carl Bertamananowski from Force.
Yeah, you got the gold chain there.
This chain barely squeaked up my ass last time I went into lockup.
I'm surprised you were able to pronounce his last name.
Well, he says it in one episode.
It's
Bertamananowski. Get the hell off my property.
Now do Apu's last name.
The Hasapita Pedalon?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you were saying, Hawk?
I don't have much else to say on that. I mean, I just think it's interesting how the trend of Hollywood, there's a lot more transparency, I think, in the politics of Hollywood and what's going on. A lot more of people watching their shit, which is a good thing. And I think it's going to change a lot of how the industry works.Maybe not in terms of how cutthroat it is, but hopefully the white male dominated culture of Hollywood is going to change. We get a lot different visions and characters and cultures and ideas in these movies, because a lot of those are the more interesting ones. All of the great movies of this year, many of the great movies of this year, are movies that had that kind of different vision.
Right.
Not necessarily of culture or race or gender, but
it's different perspective. Yeah.
Perspectives. I was going to say this is a little bit different, but first, this is kind of on a tangent. But First Reformed, which is now on Amazon Prime because it was a Amazon Studios movie, you get this movie that's a very dark look at Catholicism in a film, and I don't think you get too much of that in a mainstream movie. So I think both with the diversity in Hollywood and with these new ideas and streaming, feeding back to that, I was going to mention it, is that there's going to be a huge amount of different options in movies going forward. I think this year and last year were the beginning of that, and I think in 2019 we're going to have even more options for different types of movies that only a small handful of people are going to like, but it's available because those people are there to watch it.
Right.
But then you have a bigger slice of people, minorities, racial minorities, women, things like that. There are going to be more movies for all of them too, which is great to see. This going to be this big melting pot of ideas and cultures in movies going forward, more so than it has been in quite some time.
I'm going to save a lot of time because I completely agree with Bill A. as far as like what 2018 is typified by is the explosion of streaming in the film industry. So I'll go ahead and defer to Bill Leon. In your opinion of what you've seen and experienced in 2018, what do you think the film industry's strongest reflection is this year?
Strongest reflection.
Like what typifies this year, and how will it be remembered in history?
Out of the 13 movies that you've seen this year.
it's
well,
sorry
not just
to bother
that,
you.
but
The message of sorry to bother you is that the public keeps finding out how fucked up shit is, and they just accept it, which is a mirror to reality right now.
All right, that's good.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree with that too.
Yeah, I can give a great example of that. Just looking through your Facebook or Twitter timeline or news feed, and you scroll through like someone requesting money through GoFundMe, someone sharing a news video, like one of those short form videos of kids being tortured in another country, and then what's your response to that? You hit the like button. You know what I mean? And then you just move on to something else. Oh, there's a cat video. Or, oh, here's a movie that came out a couple years ago from my childhood that I really like. I'm going to comment on that. Meanwhile, you got all these other important political posts that are getting just kind of piecemeal, or just little bits,
Yeah, definitely. And to add to that, by the way, you were talking about sorry to bother you having that message. I just saw Vice, and the message is actually pretty much the same there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is interesting.
Dick Cheney.
Yeah. Well, and the message of Vice basically is basically that we are the ones who made him and allowed it to happen. And just kind of went along with it.
Do they do the famous quail hunting in the movie?
Oh yeah, and what's interesting though is they don't make a huge deal out of it. It just kind of happens really quick.
It's like one small scene, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, blink and you miss it. Honestly, it's
probably because it wasn't even a huge deal for fucking Dick Cheney. He shoots the guy in the face, and the guy apologizes to him.
Yeah, they do. That's the main thing they make a big deal out of, which is hilarious.
Like for him, it's like, oh, whatever. I just shot a person. I don't give a fuck. I do that at my sweep.
Actually, I don't want to spoil too much about Vice, so I don't want to go into too much. But I will say that the entire audience that I was in the theater with just was rolling on the floor laughing because of something that happens midway into the movie that makes you think the movie's like over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like Dick Cheney having a heart attack or something?
Oh, no. Basically, it's a false ending joke that just is pushed to its limits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm going to try to see that movie tomorrow.
What?
I said definitely do.
Oh. Yeah, so I didn't see a lot of new movies this year so far, but I did see.
The year's almost over.
Yeah, but they're still January.
You have 4 days. You have 5 days.
We're not going to do the lists on the first.
It's so defensive.
But I did see a lot of older films. I saw a lot of Albert Brooks movies this year. I saw a lot of John Waters films that I had never seen before. I'm working my way through Lethal Weapon. I had only seen the first one. I'm on 4, which is so exciting. Lethal Weapon 4.
What did you think of 3? 3 is the one that I think is
that the one with the toilet?
That's the one where he eats dog biscuits and he like calms the dog down and
the toilet's 2.
Oh, toilets too.
The first 2 Lethal Weapons, in my opinion, are legit great movies.
I liked 3. I didn't hate it. I mean, yeah, it wasn't as good as 1 and 2, but
I enjoyed 4. I mean, I didn't hate it.
4 is when they embrace the dumb to the highest extent. Have you started it yet, Bill?
No, it's the last one I got to see.
Okay, yeah,
it's pretty fun.
You're gonna basically what they did with 4 is they said, so what made audiences laugh in the last couple movies? All right, let's just do that.
The way the 4 opens is pretty funny. It's a guy with a flamethrower in the rain, so it's like a cool sequence. And then Mel Gibson and Danny Glover have their back and forth, and
it's pretty hard. It's pretty hardcore, but it's also corny as shit.
What I love is whenever they cut to the perspective of the guy with the flamethrower, he's got like music playing.
Oh yeah, well he's got
in his helmet.
Does he have like a Walkman that he's blasting music?
Yeah, he's got like a Walkman, and it's a song like about fire. It's like fire
in the hole. Yeah,
yeah, that's pretty funny. I was like, dude, if you're gonna go out that way.
Yeah. So anyway, what
else do we want to talk about 2018?
Well, the next thing I'd like to talk about is what's interesting about the top 10 money makers this year. And I'm not even going to say so far because there's nothing in theaters right now that is going to break any of these.
You don't think so?
Yeah, no. I don't think so.
Yeah.
You don't think Aquaman is going to break 600,000 or 600 million?
The Aquaman.
You know what?
Aquaman.
I guess I'm not even thinking about Aquaman at this point because I've just everything I've seen and heard about the movie disinterests me.
I've heard my friend told me I had 2 friends mentioned to me last night. One said that it was really fun, maybe a little bit too long. Another friend said, and I quote, "You could grate this cheese."
Ouch.
But that was a compliment. She said it was really dumb and way into how dumb it is. Like it's intentionally really corny.
So is it gonna break 600 million worldwide? Yeah, it will.
I don't think it'll get much further than 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Does Warner Brothers know what they're doing with DC at this point? Like,
no,
okay. No, they have no.
Well, clue. I think they've got a plan. Like they kind of abandoned the whole
DC
like giant cinematic. Yeah, they stopped doing that, and they're going to start doing like side projects. I mean, they've got Shazam coming out. They got Wonder Woman 84.
Like they're going to do individual movies that will eventually lead to something bigger, perhaps?
No, not even that. They're doing like individual films. Like there's going to be a Harley Quinn Joker movie. There's going to be a Suicide Squad sequel, which is going to be helmed by James Gunn.
There's 2 Joker movies coming out. Yeah,
there's another Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix from Todd Phillips, which I'm excited for.
James Gunn on Suicide Squad is official now?
I believe so.
He's helping to write it. We don't know I don't think it's official that he's directing it.
I think it was, but
maybe I don't know. But as far as the top 10 goes, I mean, like I'm still amazed that Venom cracked it and made number 5.
That was the number 5 highest grossing film
of the year.
Its international gross was insane.
So DC confirmed in October that James Gunn is writing and directing.
Okay, well, that's something. But I'd rather him do Guardians. I think Guardians is a little more in his wheelhouse.
I mean, it's too late for that, but
it's too late for that. I know, but I mean, I'm just saying it's unfortunate.
Have you guys discussed that yet?
I mean, we discussed Me Too and allegations, but you know,
but the James Gunn thing is.
By the way, there's nothing Me Too about it. He made a couple of bad jokes online.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is that
who hasn't?
Hold on. Let me finish. I'm saying that there's this other side to Me Too where people are weaponizing that into taking down people they don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it was.
It is, yeah, which is unfortunate, and that's it.
What was it like? Someone from Breitbart like had a thing against James Gunn or something, or
because James Gunn likes ripping on conservatives.
Yeah,
right, so conservative went back 10 years on James Gunn's Twitter and found some, to be fair, extremely in poor taste pedophile jokes,
which is funny because he even did a couple jokes that were in bad taste when he was announced for the first Guardians. And he apologized very quickly, but that didn't get him in any trouble.
So first of all, the jokes that he made, I mean, yes, they're in poor taste, but we don't need to repeat them. But the point is, here's the thing: this is a guy who once worked for Trauma. If you don't, I mean, you can't expect a person to change the entire way his comedic mind thinks on a dime just because he's getting a bigger budget.
Well, yeah, nobody expected that, but Disney
and the fact that he has a track record of making these movies for Disney that have fit within their, their needs, tells me that he clearly learned a lot from his past, and he knows. I don't know. What I'm going to say is that there was no need to apologize for what he wrote, because he was when you write jokes like that, you're trying to test the waters and push the envelope.
Yeah, but he probably should have deleted those tweets, and Disney had a snap reaction in firing him because millions of conservatives were up in arms against him. Disney was looking at their profit margin, and they fired him to send a message and say, hey, no, we still value your money. Come see our next movie directed by somebody who won't make a joke like that, which is unfortunate.
Who definitely didn't make a joke like that 10 years ago. Yeah.
That's an interesting topic of conversation. Who would you guys hire to replace James Gunn for Guardians 3?
I wouldn't. I'd end the series.
Yeah, just don't do Guardians 3. Dave Bautista is already probably going to leave anyways.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Dave Bautista he might just be in Suicide Squad 2.
At this point, yeah, he might as well play
He
Bane.
said, he's like, fuck it, I'll go work with James Gunn again. I'll go into Suicide Squad.
I'll break my
be the new Killer Croc or something.
Yeah, he'd be a better Killer Croc than that one guy. So,
the dude who played Adebisi on Oz,
or Mr. Echo on Lost.
Yeah.
He's a great actor. It's just Killer Croc was a shitty character
in that movie. Yeah.
I mean, Suicide Squad fucking sucks. I say it at least once a month. I fucking hate that movie. It's so bad.
Which is unfortunate because some of the trailers for that were all right.
And then the movie itself was cut by the cut we saw by the team that made the trailer, because people were like, oh, that trailer's good. And one of us was like, oh, that's interesting. Let's just have them make the movie.
So let's get back really quick to what I was mentioning before in terms of the,
top 10?
Yeah, in terms of the top 10. One thing I want to mention is that in the top 10, there are 2, 3, 4 Disney pictures, and there are 2 20th Century Fox movies, which are now basically it's now within the Disney realm, meaning that outside of the Disney realm, there were a total of 4 movies that had nothing to do with Disney.
So wait, one of them was Deadpool 2, right? The 20th Century Fox movie. What was the
Bohemian Rhapsody was the other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note Bohemian Rhapsody is the only movie on this list that is not part of like a crazy franchise.
It's not, based on an existing media, like a print or otherwise.
It kind of is, but it isn't.
I mean, it's a
biopic, but
it's a biopic, but
it's not. Yeah, you're right. It's not based on a movie that came out before it, and it's.
So let's say that it's the only one that's not part of. It's not an adaptation or a franchise or a sequel or a franchise. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm so angry that Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom was number 3. That movie was bullshit.
Yeah, but it's kind of so bizarre, isn't it? So bizarre that it's almost surreal and absurd.
Yes, that is the most expensive sci-fi channel movie I've ever seen.
Everything about that movie should have made it another like John Carter style, like what happened? Like it drops and no one cares. But because it's got dinosaurs in it, we gotta go see it.
I would say it's more
Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
The name brand of Jurassic Park is what did it, because really you can make a movie with dinosaurs and nobody will go see it.
Right. Yeah,
like Land of the Lost. Land of the Lost was a movie with dinosaurs and no one went to see it.
It's got the Jurassic logo, and the Jurassic logo hasn't meant anything since 1994.
Ooh. I remember going to see Lost World in the theaters, and the theater was packed.
Yeah. When I say hasn't meant anything, I mean artistically speaking.
Oh,
Lost World is some bullshit.
Fallen Kingdom was still fun with how stupid it was. Like I really hope that Colin Trevorrow keeps finding work writing scripts, and then he sticks to what he's been doing, because this guy is fucking crazy. I mean, he made The Book of Henry, which is one of my favorite bad movies ever, and then he injected so many weird kind of like some of his ideas in Fallen Kingdom is like, instead of going from point A to point B, he goes from point A and makes a detour to 5 different restaurants and then goes to point B. It's like things are just unnecessary. Like, why is there a giant room with a fucking dinosaur runway, you know.
Because they're models.
And
they're models. And somebody
Toby
on
Jones
Reddit,
being an auctioneer.
somebody on Reddit was like, "Oh, you know, like with the low cost of those the dinosaurs have a really low cost, and Jeff Bezos could just come in and buy the whole lot and then just take them back home on his helicopter."
Right? Like what?
He was also on the list is Incredibles 2, which I was disappointed by very, very much.
Yeah, Incredibles 2 was, you know what it was? It was perfectly adequate to sit through, but damned if I can even remember what the plot was about.
The plot is the first movie, so
plot is the Miss Stretch can.
All of the character development from the first movie was thrown out.
Well, basically, you can see that this movie was rushed. You know, Disney, Pixar, they switched the releases of Incredibles 2 and Toy Story 4. So Brad Bird was kind of rushed into finishing Incredibles 2. So you can see he kind of like had to borrow a lot of plot stuff from Incredibles 1.
He's like he's drawing the cells, the animation cells hand by hand, furiously. I mean, I know it's computer animated, but I'm just saying like that's the equivalent. Like he's doing that. Like I gotta finish this. We gotta make the release date.
Like a quivering hand of coffee lifted up to his mouth, or like disheveled hair. He's been up since last week.
There's a couple frames.
Like that
a couple frames of the movie where you see his coffee mug.
like that early season episode of The Simpsons where Smithers is black for some reason.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
It's just it's like I don't know. And then there's like so much of Incredibles 2 is just not at the same level of Incredibles 1, you know, same thematic beats, same plot twist, seizure-inducing action scenes because with the flashing lights, so bad that somebody on Twitter was like, "Hey, AMC, you should put a warning because that's fucked up," and then AMC did. Mm-hmm. Hey, warning! There's a flashing sequence of lights such and such time into this movie that may cause problems for epileptics or people sensitive to seizures. You know?
Outside of Toy Story, has Pixar made a good sequel? Monsters U was mediocre. Finding Dory was mediocre.
Finding Dory was fucking boring.
Yeah.
Cars 2 was kind of fucked up if you want to look at it like that.
Oh, I guess Cars 3 may count as a good sequel.
I have not seen Cars 3.
Yeah, have you guys seen Cars 2 though, right? Because that movie has torture and murder.
Cars 2. Yeah, but it's also some bullshit because it's
some
Larry
bullshit,
the Cable Guy, the movie. The only thing that movie has going for it is the scene where Bruce Campbell car gets killed.
Yeah, where it's when they inject him with the bad oil and they rev his motor until he blows up, right?
Yeah,
like which is like, what were they thinking? Like John Lasseter was like, "Hey, let's have a scene where a character is tortured."
Were you about to say Mike Lazo?
Yeah, Michael Eisner.
Mike Lazo is the guy that runs Adult Swim, for those who don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Have they made a good sequel? No, is the answer, outside of Toy Story.
So maybe they should just stick to original projects. I don't know.
They should. I mean, they've
absolutely.
They're printing money with these sequels.
But I have no doubt that Toy Story 4 is not going to be. Because how can you take a movie that ended so perfectly like Toy Story 3 and continue that story?
It shouldn't be a movie. So they've been doing these like TV shorts with the Toy Story characters, and they're fun, and you get to see the characters again. Doing it as a feature film in a long form, execution.
I mean, you have to make a statement like that, and it's just
the statement is
I'm gonna go see it.
It's just like, here's the thing. Now, that said, I thought that about Toy Story 2. I thought that about Toy Story 3. And so, who knows?
Maybe. I have hope for that because I just like that cast and those characters together. Like they're always fun.
Oh, they have to replace Don Rickles' voice.
Yeah, that's true.
And I mean, I guess they already did Jim Varney, but.
Yeah, well, they did okay with that, but it's not the same. Like there's so much about that original cast that just they work so well together. And
oh shit, Arlie Ermey's gone too.
They got rid of the army men in Toy Story 3.
That's true.
How did they get rid of them? I don't remember.
They jumped out the window and left.
Yeah, they weren't there.
I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. They jumped out the window and left.
I thought
so.
Okay.
As far as the other movies on this list, Mission Impossible Fallout was number 6, and I've watched that movie 4 times now since it came out, and it is still as exciting as the first time. Like,
yeah, it's just great action.
It's a fucking great action movie. It's probably, I said it back when I first reviewed it, and it's probably the best action flick since Mad Max Fury Road. It is just, and it's intelligent too. Like there's a video on YouTube from a guy who I can't remember what his name is. I think it might have been Foundflix.
Are you talking about Patrick H. Willems?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, okay.
I think the YouTube account was Foundflix or something, but he basically talked about like it's how to craft the perfect action scene, and he said that every scene in Mission Impossible Fallout incorporates some sense of character, theme, or choice. And
was the guy in the video talking to his parents?
No.
Okay, then it's not that guy. Okay.
He's basically talking about how like everything that Ethan Hunt does, he's making a choice. Everything is driven by his character and what he needs to do. Everything is kind of dictated by what Christopher McQuarrie, the writer-director, wants us to believe as viewers. And he brought up an interesting point where the plot twist where Superman is the bad guy is not really a twist, because when you watch the trailer, you know that is a twist, because you see in the trailer that he's the bad guy. But the real twist is that Ethan Hunt tricks him into revealing that he is the bad guy. And so he basically really lays out this huge amount of intelligence in how the movie is written and how it kind of plays the audience and really grabs your attention and grabs the viewer in wanting to see what happens next. And it's important because, like, the Transformers movies are just things happening until the plot has to move forward a bit, and then the audience gets bored, and then more stuff has to happen because the MacGuffin has to be found.
And we can thank Mission Impossible for that CG Superman lip.
Oh yeah. Well, to be fair, that wasn't Justice League's worst sin.
It was just the most noticeable.
No, well, yeah, it was a fun little thing to go, oh, isn't that stupid? But I mean, like, the rest of the movie though had severe problems.
Yeah,
right.
Far more severe than a mustache.
I mean, they should have just given Superman a fucking beard, because that's how he was in the comics. You've been dead for a while, but not quite dead, so your hair.
Well, the first time you see him with the CG lip is before he got killed.
Right, he's on a YouTube video at the beginning of the movie, and he just kind of has this like puffy. He looks like he got back from the dentist, and he had like some serious.
He does, doesn't he?
And he got his lips like he had his front teeth pulled.
And what's interesting in my case, and I think I've mentioned this before, I went into that movie not even knowing about that whole thing of him having to shave the mustache, so I just was weirded out because something just did not look right about him through the entire film, and I couldn't figure it out. It was only after when someone said, "Hey, did you hear about the mustache?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, that makes total sense. His lip looked fucked up."
Yeah, no, I was warned ahead of time. Somebody was like, "Yo, his mustache got CGI'd, so be on the lookout." And so right away, it's immediately noticeable, and it's just.
It reminds me of that scene.
It
reminds me of that scene in Singing in the Rain when they first make the talkie. Like they turn their movie from a silent into a talkie, and they screen it for the public in a preview screening, and they're watching it, and through every fault in the movie, like from hearing the pearls on the necklace to hearing the stretchy pants that Gene Kelly wears.
Yes, I remember that.
The director is having to look over to the producer and apologize. He's like, "We couldn't fix that, boss." Yeah, I was like, it's like that. Yeah, it's like
great.
That's a great movie.
Yeah,
no, like basically for Mission Impossible Fallout, that video kind of put in perspective what made the movie so compelling to me is that it's all about Ethan Hunt as a character, and he drives the action rather than the action driving him. And I'm hoping that's not the end of the Mission Impossible series, and I've heard it might be, because given his injury in that movie, where he broke his ankle jumping across the roof, like ended up in a spectacularly expensive insurance payment. They might not make another one because that was such a huge drop. It was just a huge expense for Paramount.
I mean, at his age, the next one is going to be Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible hip replacement or something.
Look, I mean, Tom Cruise is fucking like 55 right now, and so either either that money is really doing a lot for him, or he's on to something with this Scientology thing.
Well, he has said before in an interview with Matt Lauer, before Matt Lauer turned evil, that well, he was always evil before we knew he was evil.
He's obviously evil.
Yeah, in an interview with him, he said something along the lines of, I have such abilities because of Scientology that I could cure a drug addict in a couple of days. And people were like, go ahead.
And he disappeared.
Go fucking do it. That sounds great.
Wouldn't it be interesting if Tom Cruise quits Scientology and like ages 50 years overnight? it's like that scene from Last Crusade.
It'd be like the ending of Saving Private Ryan, where the guy looking at the gravestone suddenly turns into the old man at the beginning.
Oh yeah, right.
The time lapse or Matt Damon just turns into the old dude.
He's like, "Did I earn it? Did I earn it?" It's like, "Yes, you did, honey."
Tom Cruise is so weird.
Yeah, he's a weird guy, but he makes great movies. So
he makes great. Like that's the thing. Is like I don't like Tom Cruise, but I love Tom Cruise's movies.
Yeah, and this year he did that video where he was like, "Don't do motion smoothing on your TV."
Yeah.
Hey, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, he spoke out against that. That's
all right,
cool.
An extra point for Scientology.
Yeah, really.
So that's in the appendix of the Scientology handbook. Is
get rid of your thetans, no motion smoothing.
Yes, the honest trailers for this movie. At the end they list off the cast. They called him Thetan Hunt. One of the best gags that they've had in a long time.
He probably had a laugh about that. No, like one of those kind of laughs, like.
I'm not sure.
Like a brief snort through his nostrils with mouth closed.
Yeah, right. Like he kind of laughed, but he was like, maybe I shouldn't be laughing at that.
I'm not sure that Tom Cruise watches Screen Junkies.
Yeah, right.
Or he might. Like, what if he's just like such a ego junkie that he's like, all right, what do they say about a new movie?
Maybe he's like Donald Trump. Maybe he's so insecure he watches a lot of TV and internet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like he like hires somebody that he yells at instead.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I'm not even sure Tom Cruise has a cell phone. He's just so weird. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he lives a completely insular life.
Oh, it was Mark Maron on I Was There Too. He was talking about being on the set of Almost Famous and like the Scientology. Like when Jason Lee was in Scientology, apparently like he couldn't really get around him because they were very careful about what he was exposed to.
Mm-hmm. Lock the gate.
Oh yeah.
For those of you who don't know, that's like one of his very few lines, Mark Maron's very few lines in Almost Famous, and every episode of his podcast begins with him shouting, "Lock the gate!"
Mm-hmm.
Which is
Yes.
Now I can't see that scene in Almost Famous without hearing like.
I haven't watched Almost Famous in like a decade.
Yeah, it's been a while, but I've seen the scene a couple of times. Anytime I hear him yell that line, I immediately just hear like some guitar come in and the what the fuck theme.
My sister's boyfriend hates Tom Cruise because he can't ignore the fact that when he looks at a picture of Tom Cruise, he notices that the dental reconstruction has it so that he has a tooth right in the center of his face.
What?
Like, so if you look at a picture of Tom Cruise smiling, if you were to draw a line down the center of his face, he has a front tooth in his mouth that
Okay.
Instead of like if you have like two front teeth, like if you draw a line through your face, it bisects those two teeth. Tom Cruise has the one tooth.
Okay, I'm looking at. Oh my God, that's right. It does. Like if you follow his nose straight down, it's like a tooth right. What the fuck is with that?
Because he had really fucked up teeth when he first started acting, and so all of his money from like Legend and stuff like that helped him to
his Legend money.
All that Legend money helped him get serious dental reconstruction. So it's kind of not.
I like that Legend is your go-to, not Risky Business, not Cocktail,
not Taps.
Yeah, right.
And so
I
so distracting to him that he cannot watch a Tom Cruise movie.
I almost had an opportunity to actually talk to Tom Cruise when he they showed Jack Reacher Never Go Back, which was shot in New Orleans. Some of it was shot here anyways, and they did a press screening of it the day before he was going to come down for a red carpet at the same theater. And it was weird though. It was a multiplex. It wasn't like an upscale single screen or something. It was like a multiplex. So I went to the press screening and the director was there. And I was like, oh, that's a nice little treat. And I decided not to go to the Tom Cruise red carpet because I didn't want to be a part of all that anxiety and all that, hassle. Like, oh, it's Tom Cruise. I'm like, what the fuck am I going to ask him? But I've thought about it since then, and I'm like, man, I could have really asked him something fucked up. Like nothing like fucked up, like in terms of like squirting water in his face, like at that one video. I mean like actually asking him a legitimate question that he doesn't get asked, that isn't just promoting his movie.
I forgot about that video. You're a jerk. You're a jerk.
And then he smiles it off. He's like, hey, yeah, these guys,
I saw. There's a GIF I've been trying to find for a long time because I used to be on the forums for Fark.com, and they used to have a bunch of memes that were kind of integral to their website. And there was this GIF that someone would use all the time that was like a close-up image of Baloo from the Jungle Book, like bobbing his head up and down, and then hard cuts to Tom Cruise. With the water being sprayed in his face.
The original GIF of that is it cuts to Todd, the fox from Fox and the Hound, getting milk squirted into his mouth.
Yeah, in this case it cuts right. In this case it cuts to Tom Cruise getting the water sprayed.
Yeah, that's the original GIF there.
Yeah,
that wasn't even a funny joke. That was more like
it was a mean thing to do. I don't by no means do I think Tom Cruise deserved that or anything. That was cruel.
What would be funny is having the insult dog interview him.
Yeah,
the puppet
Triumph.
He probably has at some point.
Probably has at some point, but that would be funny because it's like, hey, Tom Cruise, do you like whatever? And Tom Cruise is like, well, Triumph.
I was going to say, is that your Triumph impression or is that Hervé Villechaize?
That might be Hervé Villechaize. I don't know, but Hervé is not. People have this misconception about him that he's like Latin American or something, or just Latin, but or Spanish or something. But he's French, right?
Yeah,
or he was French before he died, but now he's just a corpse. But well, no, he's a skeleton now, I guess, or maybe he's not even that. I don't know what happens to skeletons after how many years. I really don't know what happens to skeletons after. Do they just stay skeletons, or does that go away too
after decomposing?
Yeah.
They eventually go into dust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unless you're lucky and you get trapped in
ice or something,
or you're a Terminator.
Oh yeah, if your bones
technically
are
you could fossilize, if under the right conditions. If a volcano erupts and it's covered in enough.
What we're saying is we have all the respect in the world for Hervé Villechaize.
Which is that's the first time I think that has ever been said.
I'm just saying.
Speaking of which, that was a 2018 he was kind of a creepy sex pervert,
Yeah, I know. That was a 2018 movie, wasn't it? It was the HBO movie, My Dinner with Hervé, or My Interview with Hervé, or whatever it was called.
Yeah, that had Jamie Dornan from 50 Shades and Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage, yeah.
Yeah.
And Dinklage, at first, people were like, why'd you cast a white guy? And he's like, because he was white. You know what I mean? Like, that's just his name. It doesn't mean he's actually, But
how has Jamie Dornan been doing outside of 50 Shades? I know that Dakota Johnson has actually been a pretty great actress outside of that series, and was out of the two of them, clearly she's better than this performer in those movies, but I haven't seen anything with Jamie Dornan.
Dornan isn't terrible. He's just a little blandish, but he's not as bland as Hayden Christensen or something. He's just kind of blandish.
Okay.
Like he's a handsome guy. He can do some bold things here and there.
That's my favorite BBC sitcom, Blandish.
Hayden Christensen was in a movie like this year called.
Was he? He was really in a movie,
Little Italy or something like that. Like so. Let me confirm this. It was
Little Italy.
Little Italy.
Yeah, Little Italy. Okay, so look up the poster for Little Italy. and tell me that this is not the most dead-eyed motherfucker you've ever seen in a poster this year.
It's available on Prime.
Oh, is it?
Not for free, but it's available. It's a melodrama / romance.
He looks like a formerly drug addicted.
And he's with Emma Roberts in it too. But he looks like a fucking a member of Sum 41.
By the way,
look at his hair.
He looks like a formerly drug addicted Jason Segel.
What's the deal with Emma Roberts' pants? There's some weird I don't know.
It doesn't look like pants. It looks like a skirt.
It looks like a Photoshop job.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Maybe she's like green screened.
Maybe we're looking at two different posters. I'm looking at a different poster.
Yeah, look at the one where they're both standing. We're like, wow, we're so weird. Like,
I have the one where he's holding her.
Yeah, look at the one where they're standing next to each other.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at. There's something with her blue jeans that
the one that says Vince's Pizza.
Yes.
Yeah. He's wearing a shirt that looks like it's way too loose for him. Like he hasn't washed it in years.
What the hell?
It's overstretched. Like he's worn it too many times.
Like he lost a ton of weight and just
he's now a burnout. So here's my smile.
He does not even. He looks like Topher Grace on this poster.
Yeah, he looks like Topher Grace.
He looks like a guy from Sum 41. I don't want to waste my time.
You said waste.
So by the way, I just noticed that. Speaking back to Tom Cruise really quick, I noticed that Val Kilmer is going to be in the new Top Gun movie, and
he cancer.
I hope they ADR his entire performance,
and I hope they use the same voice that they used
in The Snowman.
Yeah, where it's just like you still can't understand what he's saying.
Oh, that's right. He was in The Snowman, and they ADR'd his ass.
Which, I don't want to dunk on Val Kilmer for having throat cancer. But
it's not his fault.
They definitely picked the wrong guy to dub his voice.
Whoever they used for ADR, it
didn't know. Yeah,
it was like they were trying to make it was like they were going out of their way to make fun of him, which is ridiculous.
The Snowman is such a low effort movie that it's kind of astonishing.
They don't even have to have
Scorsese was a producer.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh.
Well, he was originally attached to direct at one point.
Yeah, I'm so fucking glad. And that would have been a good movie, probably. Maybe. He would have changed things. He wouldn't have left it. Okay, Harry Hole, he can't be Harry Hole anymore. Okay? He can't be Harry Hole anymore.
He probably
we call him Harry Jackson.
I bet that he was like a producer early on, and then he kind of just like threw some money at it and moved on with his life.
He got out of the contract.
Like he jumped off of a moving train with that one. So I don't know. But anyway, like another thing that I saw yesterday is that IMAX, the IMAX company for their movies grossed 55 million maybe?
Million, not
million. Sounds more,
Yeah, $55 million this year, which was the most that the company has ever made in film history, which is great. Certain movies work really well with IMAX. I saw several movies in IMAX this year, and like that format works if you're seeing the right kind of movie. I mean, Avengers Infinity War was the first movie ever made entirely in IMAX with IMAX cameras.
Yeah.
And it looked good. And, there are other movies in IMAX format or in the Dolby format with AMC.
It just looks good.
It just looks good. Like even
it just looks good.
I saw The Girl in the Spider's Web in Dolby, and I think that movie just was better in Dolby, just because that movie is so stupid, and so there's like a lot of action and dumb action.
The sniper guy,
like that sniper stuff was really fucking cool in Dolby. I'm not gonna lie, like that was a shitty movie, but that was a cool scene with that kind of sound and visual enhancement.
Okay, well, stimulation can be fun.
I love being stimulated.
Remember that rumor for the first 50 Shades movie that they were going to install plastic liners for the seats because the movie's going to get steamy?
Yeah.
And I confused it. I was like, wait.
Didn't some theaters actually do that, by the way?
No, that was a shit post. Somebody was fucking.
Someone was fucking. Yeah, okay. All right, good. They didn't do that at mine. At mine, it was just me and a couple other people. No one really wanted to see that fucking movie.
I remember seeing 50 Shades Darker, I think. It was either one of the first two movies when I went to saw it. I would see... I got there first, one of the first people, because I was reviewing it for the site with Felix, as I did with the whole trilogy, and read the books, and it was horrible. It's like I saw it's like women coming in just pulling their just dead-eyed husbands or boyfriends along with them. Like every single male in that theater, including myself, was there against their will.
Yeah,
and you could see it clearly on their face. Like, all right, it's only 2 hours. It's only 2 hours.
Oh god! And then 50. What was that movie? 50 Shades of Black. The Marlon Wayans
with Marlon Wayans spoof. Yeah,
which could have potentially been a good idea. Like it's like, oh, okay,
it's kind of funny. It just ended up being like
it ended up being like condom joke, and it's like, oh god.
It went for all the obvious humor, where it's like, oh, here's my play.
He went farther than that.
Like
he did a fucking rape joke where he was like, I'm gonna pretend to put a condom on, but I'm not really gonna put it on.
You guys, we got another comment on the Marine post with someone posting in Spanish, "Fuck your mother."
People think it's the movie.
Yeah, even though the word commentary is right there.
Even though commentary is right there.
I love that people are so desperate to watch
see the Marine.
The movie from like what 2006.
But they'll post a comment saying "fuck your mother."
Why, of all the places to look for free movies, why YouTube? And like for something mainstream like The Marine, like the free movies you're going to find on YouTube are usually obscure, like things that aren't hosted anywhere else.
Yeah,
it's desperation, and as you can tell by the just classy nature of these posts, it's also
I must see a 12-year-old John Cena movie post haste, or I will kill myself.
I would like to see a movie with 12-year-old John Cena.
You can't see me.
John Cena is in the background of a scene in Ready to Rumble. He's not 12 years old, obviously, but he's a young boy. This is before he was with WWE.
He's a young boy. He's some young boy.
Well, by the way,
you know what I'm talking about, right, Bill?
Yeah, I do.
So
okay.
I'm sure that Bill Leon and Bill Arsenault are familiar with this, just because I'm them being the wrestling people. But I saw a trailer for this upcoming movie called Fighting with My Family.
Oh, the
Page movie.
A wrestling movie?
Yeah, it's a wrestling movie.
It's not only that, but it's directed and written by Stephen Merchant,
which is kind of weird when you think about it. Usually they get like a no-name person.
It's so weird.
But
it's WWE funded. The Rock is an executive producer. The Rock has a scene in it.
I know that, but like
more than a scene,
Stephen Merchant, like Taliban in Logan, right? Or Caliban.
You're right.
Stephen Merchant plays the Taliban,
but he's also a prolific comedy writer.
Right, he does other stuff too, but like his most impactful role was Caliban in Logan.
Right. So he's directing a movie about wrestling that's coming out next year, and the concept is interesting. It's basically about like a brother and sister who are like English brother and sister who are part of a wrestling family, and they're trying to make it into the WWE. And it has like it clearly was made with WWE input because it stars a ton of.
It's also a true story, basically.
It is.
Oh, is it?
It's literally true. Like, I mean, her story ended up ending a little too soon. Paige ended up suffering a very bad back injury when she came back to wrestling after spending a couple years having an affair with Alberto Del Rio. A real life affair with Alberto
that was messy.
Del Rio. That was very messy. And she came back from it, stronger, and she did her matches. And then one night at a live event, she got kicked in the back in a very bad way, and she couldn't get up from it for a couple minutes. So they checked on her, and she was okay afterwards, but not like medically. Like they looked at her back, they're like, we recommend that you can't wrestle anymore.
Yeah.
So she retired.
She retired and became a on-screen personality.
Yeah.
She's not wrestling, but she's kind of still there.
But I do want to talk about this movie, not so much the movie itself, but like how long. I don't know how long apart these two things are, but when they first announced the movie, I don't think Paige was like technically with the company at this point outside of her involvement with this movie. A few weeks later, or like a month later, somebody leaked a bunch of her sex tapes like
Oh,
with
God.
who was
Well, yeah, it was
Brad Maddox and Xavier Woods. And,
Brad Maddox had been taping her having threesomes with them, and it was very unfortunate. I mean, that shit should never be. You know, that's just between.
Well,
adults,
what I'm saying,
you know,
what I'm getting at here is that under any other circumstance, WWE would have just cut ties with her, but they just made this like multi-million-dollar movie deal, so they're you know what I'm saying. Like WWE wouldn't fuck around with that.
Also, she's a very young, impressionable person. She's not even 30, I don't think. You know, she's like, you know, still in her 20s. So I mean, you know, they're going to be seen as dicks if they were to, you know, because otherwise it'd be like, you guys may have, you know, aided this
Also,
kind of behavior.
times have changed quite a bit since like the what was the big one? China, was it, that went porno
China.
and was kind of written off?
You mean Japan or is it China? No, Japan's still big. Yeah, right. It's just it's censored.
I'm talking about the wrestler China. Wasn't she the one who was like basically written off of all the books because of
no.
tape?
There's a lot more personal politics at play there.
Yeah, Triple H was involved with her at one point, and then he went with Stephanie McMahon, and then they had a bad falling out, and China left the company. Then she had some bad drug dealings, and she even participated in that TV show,
The Surreal Life.
No, Celebrity Boxing.
Oh, she was also on The Surreal Life with Vern Troyer.
Yeah, and she did a lot of stupid things, and did a sex tape with X-Pac, and which was disgusting as hell.
Yeah.
No offense to her, it was just not very appealing, and she just took a tumble, man.
Prior to WWE going PG, like they had women in the company do Playboy all the time.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's really just their shift to present a more family friendly image, which they've been doing since what, Bill, like 2009.
A little earlier. I want to say I want to say this was like maybe a year after the Benoit tragedy. So
I believe that was 07.
That was 07. So I want to say like late 08 is around that time when they started shifting towards that. That was around the time Edge started calling himself Rated R Superstar. Because he's like, you guys are PG, I'm rated R, you know.
Yes.
Which is a good way to distinguish yourself, but you know, you still can't you're still acting within the PG realm, so you know. But anyways, yes, the Paige movie, it doesn't look great or even interesting.
I thought the trailer looked interesting.
Yeah, the trailer's okay, but
I haven't seen the trailer.
The trailer has some generic songs in it, like "This Moment We Own It," you know, shit like that. You know?
Oh, that's fun.
It's got that in there, but at the same time, it's shot relatively well, and there are some good comedic moments. You know, like the brother and sister are about to do the tryout, and they asked Vince Vaughn is in it. He plays a manager in the WWE. He's like, "Why do you think we should hire you?" And the brother's like, "Well, I'm one of the baddest guys in the room. In any room I'm in, I'm the baddest guy."
Can't teach that.
No, and then he looks at the guy next to him. And he's like, "Just ask this lady," or he says something like that. And he makes fun of the other guy for having long hair and looking like a woman.
Oh.
And it was kind of a funny joke, you know. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't mean to upset you."
They showed a clip where Paige and her brother meets The Rock at, I think, SummerSlam. It was a pay-per-view like a while.
They did an NXT takeover event, and then they did a WrestleMania event where they showed the clip. And what was funny was Paige, the real life Paige, introduced the video clip, and she didn't know when the camera was on. So it started with her just staring off into space, and then someone had to point her like, "Hey, camera's on." And she goes, "Paige here," and she I don't know if she doesn't know how to wear makeup properly or what, but
whoa,
but no.
All right, Joan Rivers.
She wears too much makeup. Like she coats her lips in lipstick and gloss.
He's not wrong.
It looks like her lips look puffy. You know?
And her skin always looks pale.
Well,
I think her skin is just genuinely pale.
That's just her natural skin, but she accentuates those things, and it was a funny promo that she cut. She's like, "I'm really excited about this movie about my life."
Charlotte, what are you doing?
Yeah, right. This is how she talks, you know. And meanwhile, you got these other women's wrestlers who have come out who've kind of eclipsed her, because she spent some time away from the WWE. So you got like Sasha Banks, Bayley, Charlotte, especially Charlotte.
Now Rousey.
And now Ronda Rousey, and Becky Lynch, especially Becky Lynch. So you got a lot of these other wrestlers coming out. And, yeah. Anyway, what I'm getting at is the movie might be good. I don't know.
Yeah, it might not too.
It might not either. I don't know. But Stephen Merchant, that surprised me when I saw that credit. Stephen Merchant, I was like, that guy.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's
like,
kind of like I've gone from being like to like interested.
And then, but it wasn't helpful that I saw Vince Vaughn in it. I was like, okay, he's in there because he's friends with The Rock from when they made Be Cool. But at the same time, I'm like looking at Vince Vaughn. I'm like, he's got a gut. He doesn't look interested at all in what he's saying or doing.
When is the last time he was in a major motion picture? Was it that Google one with Owen Wilson?
No, Brawl at Block 99.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, one of my favorite movies of last year.
Well, maybe when this movie was made, he was kind of coming off of that movie and was like, you know what, I'm gonna take some time to myself. I'm just gonna relax. Let's do a small little movie, nothing too big. That other movie was too intense.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2018, the year that was.
I wanted to talk about Movie Pass and Gotti and movie ticket subscription services, because Movie Pass has had an epic story, like which I'm actually putting together a script of sorts for a video I want to do at some point, but like things keep happening so quickly that I'm struggling to keep up with it. Mm-hmm. It's like way back in the day, Movie Pass was like, oh, you print this voucher on your printer on your computer.
Yeah. I've been a fan of Movie Pass ever since they announced they were Movie Pass.
Yeah.
I even wrote a blog post in 2011 where I was like, Movie Pass can work. Give it time.
I mean, like way back in the day, it was like for $30 or $40 a month, you would see unlimited movies, and you'd pull up the app on your phone and go to the theater.
Yeah. And they actually had good customer service back then.
They did. Like the app wouldn't work like it always hasn't, and you'd call them and they just do
it for you. Yeah.
The movie.
And then they launched big time and $9.99, or $9.95 or whatever, and then everything.
Yeah, so they were acquired by Hewlett Matheson, this firm. I keep saying firm, but I don't know if that's an accurate term. Like, but yeah, like last year, they got acquired by this company, and they said, okay, for
basically $10,
movies. I'm looking it up to make sure I get the term correct, like I care. But Helios and Madison, I'm sorry. They're a IT service management company, according to Google.
That's fucking interesting.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Let's get into the movie business.
It's a lot of research that I can't recall off the top of my head, but the CEO of Helios and Matheson is Ted Farnsworth, and he has had a multitude of really bizarre venture capitalist things, that a lot of which burned out. He has made some really weird gambles financially in terms of what he's funded and helped source. And it's very weird, but obviously the whole Movie Pass thing was like, oh, $9.95 a month, you can see unlimited movies, with their idea being that, like the people that use the service a lot are offset by the people that don't use the service a lot. But $9.95 is so dangerously low for this kind of service that they should have gone higher for that, because if a person sees one movie a month at an AMC theater, that's a $12 ticket, and already Movie Pass is running at a loss.
And on top of that, I think they were looking to sell user data, like not like Facebook. I mean, more like trends. Like this is how many users go see this movie at this time of day, or this. They were looking to sell that information to studios and distributors and companies and whatnot. And I don't know. I don't think that panned out too well, though.
Well, they were surprisingly transparent about that at the very beginning.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, you know what? It's low, and like we may share your data with partners that will then sell you other movies to go see. And people are like, you know what? Fuck it. It's $10 a month. You're like, I'll tell them where I live. I don't care. And it was okay. But then
it had a GPS. It had a GPS tracker in it, and and all that stuff, because you had to be within a certain amount of yards of the theater for the card to work.
Right. And then, of course, they started doing really weird shit. Like what people started doing is that they would somebody would go to the theater and they would check in with MoviePass, and they would buy the ticket using their AMC Stubs card and get the points for buying the ticket, and then scalp their ticket outside the theater. And so they implemented this feature where if you were to leave the theater before the movie was over, your account would get flagged. And then they added a feature. I say feature. They added a feature where you had to verify your ticket stub, because something else people started trying to do is that they would go see, they would buy a ticket for A Dog's Purpose, and then instead they would see Ant-Man in 3D, because the app would load your card for the cost of the movie, and then they would pay the difference with their own money. So you had to take a picture of your ticket stub that you bought with the MoviePass app and then send it to MoviePass to verify that you saw that movie.
I had a friend at work who, what he used to do is, the theater in his area had a rewards program for purchases, and every time you purchased a ticket, you would, you would get bonuses, and the theater just happened to be convenient for him on the way home. So every day on the way home from work, whether he was going to see a movie or not, he would go in and he would buy a ticket, and then he'd just toss the ticket.
Yeah.
So he would keep, building up his rewards.
Well, he would be able to gain that because he would, well, of course, they would flag him for leaving the theater, but he could take a picture of his stub. But it was so dumb. Like, sometimes the app wouldn't work in terms of sending this stub. So I would just kind of absently buy my ticket, and then as I was walking towards the auditorium, snap a picture of my ticket, send it to them, and then throw away the ticket and move on with my life. But then it was like, oh, you didn't send your ticket. And I was like, well, yes, I did. And they said, okay, fine, we'll let you go this once. And there were people that were saying that their account got canceled because after that first grace period, if they failed to send their stub the second time, their account would get shut down. It's crazy what they did. It was
crazy. And then their customer service got even worse. They used to have a phone number that you could call during certain hours, and you could actually talk to someone, and they would help you out with the situation. And then they decided, let's get rid of that and just do a chat client.
Yeah,
and then you never knew when they were on or not. You never knew. It was just a guessing game.
Well, they kind of did this thing where, like, at least in my experience, they would, you would go to the chat client, and then after you send them a message, a few hours later, they'd reply to you, and then you talk and stuff. But then at the point where the resolution was kind of nebulous, they would send a response at like 11 o'clock at night when you were probably in bed. And then at like 7 in the morning, it's like, well, you haven't replied, so we'll just go ahead and close this ticket. Have a nice day. Like they would wait. They would kind of like respond to you in a window in which you'd be asleep or not by your phone. And then after a certain number of hours, they would just automatically close it because you hadn't responded to them. They would say, well, since you haven't replied to us, we'll just assume that everything is okay, and end the conversation. You couldn't reply to it. You'd have to open a new ticket if you still had a problem.
Yeah, it was a bunch of gobbledygook.
So weird. Now, in terms of, like, at the very beginning, I mentioned Gaudi. So Gaudi was a MoviePass thing. And so MoviePass was kind of like pushing a lot of marketing towards these MoviePass movies because they got like a kickback or something.
So, kickback.
The what?
You said kickback. They got a kickback.
Yeah, that's a term.
The Gaudi kickback.
The Gaudi kickback. So they're like, oh, go see Gaudi. Audiences love Gaudi. And they would say that audiences love Gaudi because if you would go into Rotten Tomatoes, you would see that the critic score was it's rare for a Rotten Tomatoes score to be 0%, in which nobody gave this movie a positive review. And who would to a movie that was directed by one of the guys in Entourage? But the audience scores were kind of positive. And if you were to look at the audience scores for Gaudi, a lot of the positive ones were given by accounts that were created shortly before this review and only had this one review. So the controversy around this is that it appeared that MoviePass was paying people to create accounts on Rotten Tomatoes to give this movie a positive user review and drive that score up to get people to want to go see it. And it was always really generic responses like, oh, the movie's really exciting, and it really made me want to learn more about Gaudi and like shit like that. So MoviePass was allegedly paying people to go onto Rotten Tomatoes, create a new account, and give the movie a positive review, or create a bot to do the same thing. and it's really interesting. Like the Movie Pass has dug itself into an amazing hole that I haven't seen from a business in a long fucking time.
Well, the big thing was they ran out of money.
Right. Again, the whole thing
That
is like
one night they ran out of money, and then they ran out of money again. They pumped up their accounts. They ran out of money again.
Yeah, there was that one time where they ran out of money straight up, and the entire like nationwide nobody could use this service because they were out of money.
Yeah.
And then they did a reverse split stock on their shares. I don't know what that means, but basically, like I have to look up what it actually means. But basically, it drove up the value of their shares, their stock shares, at a very high cost. If that failing, it would hurt them even more, which it did, because Helios Matheson is currently trading at 1 cent, like we said.
Yes.
It's like
1 cent. It's a penny stock.
It's a penny stock. Like, can I have one, please? Ding. Like, I have 1 penny to my name, and I would like to buy a stock in Helios and Matheson.
Yeah, you're welcome, sir. Yeah, and then what was the next thing they did? They decided, you know what, we're going to keep the price, but we're going to only curate a few movies a month for you to see.
Yeah, like
it's no longer unlimited movies. It's now just this one selection of movies we have every week.
Right. So every week they're like, oh, this number of movies, but only at a certain time. So like, oh, would you like to see Venom? Well, your choices are 9:30 at night or 10:45 at night. And there were other issues where people would like check into their app and say, oh, okay, I can go see Bad Times at the El Royale at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And they drive to the theater because you got to be in proximity to the theater to check in for your ticket. And then they would find that showtime had disappeared.
Yeah, showtimes were disappearing. Yes.
So that happened to me where like I wanted to go see Blind Spotting. And when I went to the theater, I tried to pull up Blind Spotting on Movie Pass, and it wasn't available, so I just paid for it out of my pocket. The showtime had disappeared, and then for Leave No Trace was also on the app, but it was grayed out saying premium showtimes are not available. Like, Leave No Trace is a fucking drama about a guy and his daughter living in the wilderness. It's not in a fucking premium format. It was not an IMAX. It was an amazing movie, but it was not an IMAX or anything else. So they were kind of like gaming their app to get. I don't know how they expected to benefit from that, but I think they were like putting a chokehold on the available showtimes once they reached a limit of what they had available for funds, and then just cut off everybody else from seeing that movie or something.
Yeah, it's like when you get a mole removed off of your neck.
What?
Not a cancerous mole, but you choke it. You know what I mean? And then you scrape it off.
That's such a weird analogy.
But you see, that's a positive because you're getting rid of a mole. In this case, MoviePass was getting rid of their customers.
Yeah.
They were ruining themselves by removing the mole.
It's
not a good analogy, but whatever.
But then MoviePass next year, they're going to do a new trio of services. For $9.95 a month, you can see 3 movies. 3 whole movies for $9.95 a month. Or if you would like to see movies in 3D, you can pay IMAX. What is that, like $30 a month or something for 3
20 or 30 yeah,
20 to 30 movies bucks for 3 IMAX or 3D movies a month. So back when MoviePass first was a thing, AMC Theaters was being a dick about it, which at that point I was on MoviePass's side, where AMC was like, nah, like, MoviePass is bad. Once it goes under, people are gonna, people realize they had too much of a good thing. They're not going to see movies anymore. Where really in the background, AMC was getting their own service up. And AMC A-List is $19.95 a month for not unlimited, but
3 movies a week.
3 movies per week, Thursday through
You can see
Wednesday.
any movie, and you repeat those movies if you want.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter what format or whatever, unless it's like a Bollywood movie or something,
Right, like there's some restricted ones, but like I tried to see Mile 22 and I missed my showtime, and I just checked in for Mile 22 again and saw it. I saw Mission Impossible Fallout in Dolby, which is an $18.95 ticket, and I saw that one movie out of the 12 I could theoretically see in that month for $19.95.
Yep.
And
so their Surface has been working like gangbusters.
Yeah, I mean the app is kind of shitty still, but if I just kind of like X out of it and go into it a couple times, it works.
Yeah,
and if I have to, I'll just do it on my computer.
So what we're saying is MoviePass is a bizarre story of how they kind of ended up winning in the end, but not that benefits them.
Right.
More that benefits the industry.
One of my friends pointed out that, like for any kind of like really big startup like that has this kind of really gonzo new idea, the first one that does it has to fail for the other ones to be successful.
Yeah.
Like, the first one broke the mold and the new ones break the code, I guess is the thing.
I don't know if it's necessarily that it has to, but it's very common just because the first one's going to make a bunch of mistakes.
It's like when McDonald's got bought by that jerk.
Oh,
Ray Kroc.
Ray Kroc, yeah, and then he made it what it was, and then it worked. It's kind of like that.
Well, it was working as it was for like a single store, but he made it work on a like massive,
on a grand scale.
Yeah.
So Ray, how do we make this work on a grand scale? Add preservatives to everything, cut the meat in half, and
fuck my business partners.
Fuck my business partners.
Bend them over. Just make them take it.
Oh God, no.
So the thing that's interesting, the last thing to add to A-List is that MoviePass would pay the cost of the ticket. Like this movie, the MoviePass actually pays the whole cost of the ticket to the studio or whatever. A-List pays I think a certain cost of the ticket, not the whole cost. Like they pay part of it and eat the rest or something. I don't know the specifics, but in a certain way, A-List might eventually be running at a loss if people aren't buying enough things that specifically benefit AMC. Because at a certain point, obviously, like I'm already using A-List enough to see. I only go to AMC theaters now. I don't really like AMC that much, but I like only paying $20 a month to see 12 movies in 3D. But what
you admit it, you just like sitting through the 20 minutes of trailers and then that extended video of like the red rubber ball things.
They did away with the red rubber ball thing.
Now it's
they
like
did?
bottles of Coke.
Thank God. Like that AMC mascot fucking killed me. It's so whoever came up with that as their like mascot needs to get slapped really hard across the face.
Yeah, now it's like go to the MacGuffin's bar, put your drink in the holder, and sit with your loved one.
Yeah, I love the whole AMC video thing where like you had this AMC red swirl, like, oh, it's magic. You can press a button and get your drink. Press a button and get your seat reclined. Get some popcorn and everything. Everybody's having. It's really funny because there was a short segment where a guy was watching a movie with a bowl of popcorn and something startled him and he like throws his bowl of popcorn over his head and like gets popcorn all over himself. And apparently they recut that so that the guy doesn't do that because
they don't want to encourage
over the popcorn guy.
They don't want to encourage messiness in the theater.
Yeah. So I go to a Regal theater in my area, and the thing that they've had lately is this Coca-Cola Regal Films thing where they like Coca-Cola is financing these film students to make these completely shitty short films.
Oh yeah. I've seen. I've got a Regal near me, and I've seen that. Yeah.
And when I say completely shitty, I mean there must be some requirement that they have to like focus on the Coke cup, like
totally
to almost fetishistic level, and it's they're just all of these like the student filmmakers are getting to do these are clearly all either they are incompetent or whoever is teaching them is.
I think my favorite short from the Regal films is where the nerdy guy is going to the theater with his hot girlfriend and he gets totally emasculated by this. Like the guy working the concession stand at AMC has biceps that you could break a 2x4 over. And he's like really excited to watch him pour the Coke and everything.
He's like,
he's like all jealous.
I work at the concession stand, bro.
He's like flexing while he's pouring the Coke, and she's like, yeah.
Isn't that so ridiculous? Like usually it's like just a fucking nerd or an intern or some kid out of high school or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, half the time these videos are borderline incoherent. which
Right.
is
But that's a funny premise, though. Like, you wouldn't expect this muscular bodybuilder to be like behind the concession stand. Yo, what do you want? I recommend the caramel popcorn, bro.
With steroids.
I just like
drizzle some steroids over your popcorn if you want. Don't mind the beard.
Want a protein shake, bro?
inject it directly into my vein.
I drink 3 every hour.
Yeah, I you know what? I'll just stick with the Marcus Theaters video stuff. The guy who's like in charge of like the owner of Marcus Theaters is just the dorkiest guy, and he has to be he introduces every movie in his theaters and just the cheesiest ways.
The furniture store too.
Does he? I don't know.
I prefer the Broad Theater, which does not have an opening video thing. They just go right into trailers.
Nice.
I think his name is
no bullshit.
Like Greg Marcus. That's his name. Greg Marcus.
Only problem with the Broad is they have no projection room. They just have a projector on the ceiling.
Oh, weird.
It's a high quality projector, like a 4K and everything, but and they have great sound, but there's no projection booth. It's just like there's an office where they program everything.
Oh shit! The Marcus clips are all on YouTube, so I'm gonna send one to you guys, and
there was a great one at a Regal Cinema where it was the Pepsi girl. You remember the Pepsi girl who was in that movie Polly about the parrot?
Yes.
Yeah. She's in the Wild West, and they're like, someone call the sheriff. And she comes in, and she's voiced by the guy from City Slickers, the old guy. And I forget his name. I'm so sorry. But she's like, no smoking. Remember to have a Pepsi. I think it's somewhere on YouTube right now. They shot that on film. That was back in the day where they shot movies on film.
Back in the day.
And they showed movies on film, yeah.
That they did.
Although I think Sean Baker of the Florida Project was gifted film reels of his movie by one theater.
That's nice.
That was kind of cool. Yeah, I follow him on Twitter, and he's a really I love Sean Baker. He's such a cool guy. Like I follow him on Twitter and Letterboxd, and he'll just he'll post these really genuine, gracious reviews of movies, saying how the movie made him feel. And he's like, I just want to meet that guy because he sounds like a cool guy.
Seems like a cool guy. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I like who's the guy that just directed Ari Aster, Hereditary. I got to briefly meet him. I congratulated him on Hereditary, and he was like, "Oh, thanks, man." He looks like a young Todd Solondz, but much more personable.
Yeah, he's a friendly looking guy.
He's very friendly, yeah, and very funny.
He's just bright looking, like he's excited just for everything.
Yeah, I'm great. It's great. I'm making movies and I'm enjoying my life. Meanwhile, Todd Solondz is just depressed about everything. But he kind of looks like Todd Solondz, but he has hair.
Ari Aster is still soft. Just wait till he gets into the Hollywood system.
Yeah, wait till he makes fucking.
He makes Venom 2, and he's like fucking mad all the
time. Or he makes Moon Knight or something like some obscure, Or maybe he'll make the Flaming Carrot Head movie. I don't know. That's a comic book, by the way. Flaming Carrot Head. Yeah,
sounds awesome.
It's like a philosoph. It's like a very surreal Jodorowsky comedy comic. Jodorowsky had nothing to do with it. It just borrows that kind of philosophy. It's supposed to be weird, but anyways, 2018 Movie Pass, Netflix. What was the other thing we talked about besides
Amazon?
Streaming? Amazon. No, what was Hawk's thing that?
Me Too.
Me Too. Sorry to bother you. That was 2018.